Hello, my dear friends and family. Oh my god, why am I screaming so bad? Captain Starsky joins the chat. So good to see you, my friends. So good to see all of our moderators and Human and Ellie. Katya, are you there? Please let me know. Silver Earth and everyone else. My friends, it's always a privilege to have you on my streams. Today we will have tea, actually. Like that one is wrong because turned out that I literally ran out of milk and sugar all of a sudden. I have no idea how it happened. But regardless, I hope that you are armed with some good beverage, and we will jump straight to the recent updates. And I think that is very good to talk first of all about Donald Trump. Wait a minute, what's with my sound? Sound is good. Let's talk about a man that, guys, I promise not to talk about Hutsuli. Hello, my dear friends. I promise not to mention on this channel, okay, or abstain from mentioning as much as possible, but it's literally impossible. So, as you know, Donald Trump introduced 10% tariffs against the countries that oppose his absolutely freaking amazing idea of annexing Greenland. We're talking about Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, UK, Netherlands, and Finland. And those tariffs will start working, all right? They will become active since 1st of February. And I tried to understand what it actually means. All right, I understand that Europe is losing some of its profit because its goods become more expensive, but because what we always do in such cases, we ask people who know better. I decided to ask several of my acquainted economists from Ukraine, and basically they explained everything. So we have this kind of myth, or let's say when we think about those tariffs, all right, we imagine immediately, like a bunch of European merchants coming to the American border with their mules loaded with goods, and they knock on the door and say, guys, we brought like goods for you, good American people, that we want to share with you for money. And the guards at the gate say, guys, thank you very much, but you should pay 10% of whatever your goods cost. And the merchants are like, oh my god, running around like crazy, having absolutely no idea what to do and stuff like that. So important point is that a tariff is not actually Europeans paying Americans. The important point is that the American importers that require those goods, they will have to pay it first. Why? Because we are not talking about the luxury stuff and products that are coming to the United States. We are talking mostly about things that the American importers order from Europe, and there's a lot of them, from medicine to different components, raw materials, whatever. So American importers will be paying first, and then they often pass that cost on to American shoppers through higher prices. And basically, first thing that we should remember is that it makes everything more expensive in the United States as well. For example, if you tax the imports from Europe, you are taxing things that Americans actually buy. We're talking cars, we're talking car parts, medicines, medical equipment, machines, industrial components, chemicals, consumer goods, and sometimes food and drink, even though there will be no Jacobs, most probably. But the prices will rise, and even if some companies absorb part of it, someone in the United States ends up paying regardless, either customers or businesses. For customers, it means higher prices. For businesses, it of course means lower profits. Second thing, it can push the US inflation up again, because the United States have been trying to get inflation under control. If tariffs raise prices, that adds new inflation pressure. What happens if inflation rises? The US central bank is less likely to cut the interest rates, which basically means that car loans stay more expensive, business loans stay more expensive, and things like that. So a tariff can quietly make the whole US economy run just a tiny bit heavier because of that absolutely amazing decision. Also, as you can probably already understand, it hits US factories and not just the shoppers, not just the consumers, because a lot of imports, as I already said, they are not finished products that you receive from those, merchants coming to your gates. They are either parts of ingredients that the United States companies require to make things for the American customers. So, for example, if a US factory needs German machinery parts or French chemicals, and those inputs get 10% more expensive, the US factory now has 3 bad options. All right. Either raise prices or cut costs, which often means either jobs or investment, or switch suppliers, which can be slower, lower quality, or more expensive. And it can be an option, of course, all right? If you saw the thumbnail to this video, you probably, have this understanding of what kind of suppliers we can talk potentially, right? Therefore, even though the tariffs are sold as those that are helping American industry, they can actually hurt American manufacturing. Of course, another thing is that Europe can hit back, because when the US taxes the European exports, Europe often responds with retaliation tariffs that are usually aimed at politically sensitive US exports like agriculture, different iconic brands, or industrial goods. Most probably, of course, means that my Jeep wipers will become just a bit more expensive or things like that. But actually, Bosch works very well, and that means that American exporters sell less, which can hurt farmers, different exporters, and supply chain jobs tied to those exports. So if you want to literally, like a simple example how it works, imagine that your local supermarket suddenly adds 10% fee to anything important, all right? Not because the product changed, but literally because of politics. You would think that the foreign country is paying, right? That the foreign country that exports those goods to your supermarket is paying those 10%. But as soon as you walk to the cashier, you know that you are paying it at the checkout. And that is basically how the tariffs hit the United States. So we understand that it works both ways. I'm not saying that the tariffs will not hurt European exporters, all right, because the European exporters will be exporting less, most probably, and they will have to add up the cost for their export. But again, Trump is absolute genius in terms of economics. We know a lot of projects that became extremely, extremely successful under Donald Trump, right? We really do. Alright, fuck that shit. Let's talk about something else. First of all, you know Kapustin Yar, right? So according to the Ukrainian uh, intelligence, Ukrainian drones hit Russian training ground where the Russian mental destitutes were launching their freaking Oreshnik, the legendary, the freaking orthodox, magical, uninterceptable, unbeatable, faster than light missile carrying nothing, all right, nothing but disinformation. Just to remind you what Kapustin Yar is like, all right, like what's the place where they were launching that shit from. That is literally Kapustin Yar, this absolutely amazing area in the Terrorist Federation. Like the only thing that you can see there, all right, that doesn't change is literally Lenin. Everything else degrades. And looking at this, I think that, you know, Ukrainian operators that were launching those drones, they actually cried while launching them because, seriously, guys, look at this. Like, look at this stuff. Like, what can actually be destroyed in Kapustin Yar that already looks like it was bombed by freaking dirty bombs, nuclear weapons, whatever else? I have no idea. I think literally Ukrainians were, you know, they thought that maybe it would be better to send those drones somewhere else, you know, somewhere that actually has some kind of value. Oh my god. Anyways, but that's Russia. I'm literally not surprised. What else do we have? Krasnozavodsk in Moscow region. As you can see, like if you don't see anything, that means that it's most probably dark, right? Like you have like this very, very dark house without any light and something like smoking on the background right there. So that was Krasnozavodsk, the place in the Terrorist Federation, in the Moscow region, where actually Russians had opportunity to actually go somewhere, you know, where Peter the Great and probably Katerina also wanted to bring them, you know, like somewhere into 18th, 19th century. It was a great joke, by the way. The Russian Vitaly, that dude on the left, that is April 2025, and that dude on the right, that's the same dude, January 2026. That is a scandalous Russian prankster, the dude who liked to snatch weapons from police, harass people and stuff like that. After 9 months of spending his time behind the bars in the Philippines, I'm sure that you know this dude, he was deported to Russia. What does it mean for Vitaly? It means that Vitaly will have once in a lifetime chance to make his best video that would be filmed by good Ukrainian drone operators. I think that that one will actually make a lot of views, in my personal opinion, because if he goes straight to war from the Russian airport, that will be something absolutely fantastic. As fantastic as literally the level of Russian cruelty, misanthropy, and atrociousness, because, like, guys, I understand that some of you might have, like, you know, very strong reaction to this. Here you can actually see a Russian video showcasing a bunch of mice that the Russian terrorists, and yes, I will call Russian terrorists mental destitutes because that's what they are actually. So they attached a bunch of mice to the Russian FPV drone, and that is some sort of like absolutely sick mental, I have no idea, trend that Russians have these days. They literally catch mice and attach or tape them to their FPV drones. I think that is something absolutely insane. But on the other hand, my friends, we're talking about the Terrorist Federation, place that actually breeds sociopaths. Luckily for us, we have good Ukrainian drone operators that make our world just a bit more clear of those people. Here, for example, you can see this absolutely amazing footage of a bunch of Russian terrorists becoming good instantly. And that, for some reason, actually works much better than Trump's sanctions that actually don't work at all. But we'll talk about that. So, most probably you want to ask, like, what the Russian Spetsnaz doing, right? In some of the previous episodes, I said that I love talking about the Russian Spetsnaz, and I would like to show one of them to you, my friends.
Вот такие вот бойцы у тебя, Путин. Путинский спецназ.
This grandpa says, that's your fighters, Putin. The Putin Spetsnaz.
Сегодня 6 человек таких вот отправили на фронт.
He says, today 6 guys like me were sent straight to the front.
Это на позиции, блядь, штурмовать там Константиновка или чё?
So this grandpa is actually nagging that those 6 guys that actually look like him were sent to storm Ukrainian positions. That is his armor. This grandpa is showing his equipment on camera. How do you like that? He says, I would show you my rifle, but I gave it to the armory. But the fact is, I cannot really even lift it. That is all of his equipment. That's where they live. But generally speaking, friends, you know, looking at that, I cannot say that those are like some really bad conditions there. Oh my god, I'm very sorry about that. Yeah, but you may laugh, you may cry. I don't think that this man looks extremely bad as for Russian stormtrooper. I think that he looks pretty fine as for his 25 years old. I mean, he's okay. What else? Same grandpa, as we can see.
Видеообращение к верховному главнокомандующему.
And this is something that I absolutely freaking enjoy. He says, this is the address to our Supreme Commander. If you filter or if you search some of the Russian Telegram channels, you will actually see a lot of those. Like, Russians are known for doing some absolutely incredible freaking shit, alright? And then they are making those constant, incessant addresses to the Russian leadership, dear Tsar, Putin, save us, stuff like that. First of all, everything, alright, everything starts with Russians doing shit, alright, like that's the scheme, the blueprint of the Russian stupidity. dumb Trump, was he in the First World War? I think that he fucking remembers the Kulikov battle, alright? First they do some kind of crazy shit, then when reality starts, like, you know, poking them in the rear, they start producing massively those cringy videos addressing commander, addressing Russian people, addressing everybody. This one is not an exception, my friends, because even though he's like nagging for, you know, having weapons that he cannot lift, and nagging about his physical shape, which is not the worst in the Russian army, but let's see what he said. Let's hear what he says.
Президенту России Владимиру Владимировичу Путину.
Yeah, so that is his video address, addressed straight to the president of Russia. What kind of president rules for like 25 years? I have no fucking idea, but those are Russians, they got used to it.
В 23-м году я пошел, блядь, родине помогать, подписал контракт на 1 год.
So he says in 2023 he decided to sign contracts and help his motherland. Again, we are talking about Russians literally having to mobilize or like trick people to join army, whatever, and then we see plenty of those Russians like on crutches and stuff like that. The dude literally signed the fucking contract himself. Well, maybe he thought that his amazing experience that comes straight from, you know, the latest Napoleon battle will be useful for the Russian invaders, but I don't think so. And I also don't think that he anticipated that he will be literally sent to the stormtrooper squad, all right?
1,5 года назад сорвал спину, возил боеприпасы, блядь, на позиции приезжаешь, на автомобиле Урал я работал.
So he nags that 1.5 years ago he damaged his spine because he brought ammunition to the positions on the military truck, and he damaged his poor spine.
Приезжаешь, там трое. Командир орудия, подносчик снарядов и наводчик.
He says, you're coming to the position and there are 3 people. All right, there are only 3 Russians servicing the howitzer.
И приходилось лезть в кузов и быстренько разгружать снаряды, потому что по нам стреляют, контрбатарейная борьба.
And he says, I had to go into the back of my truck myself and unload the ammunition. Basically, this grandpa over there is nagging that they made him unload the shells, which are actually pretty heavy, I can confirm. So he was forced to unload the shells himself because there's not many Russians on the positions, artillery positions that were shelled and stuff like that, and now he is nagging on camera, addressing Putin, Jesus Christ, Roman Pope, I don't know, Universal Patriarch Bartholomew, right? Because he has his spine damaged after that, and now men like him are literally being thrown into the meat assault, which I don't even know whom to blame for that. Most probably himself, because he took a very, very stupid decision. Like, if you sign contracts and you want to help your motherland and you go to the front line and freaking do what he did, then basically that's what you deserve. First of all, you deserve that fucking fucked up spine, alright? And secondly, you deserve to become good in the very, very next meat assault. I'm sorry if I sound like a bit too aggressive. The dude, by the way, he's born 1962. Shakhnazarov Konstantin Sergeyevich, currently serving in the 28th Motorized Regiment, 18th Russian Army. He writes videos, he makes videos, he records those addresses to President Putin. I don't know, his wife, his kids. Help me out. I don't wanna die. He says, oh my god, I'm reading like the quotes. He says, oh my god, I'm 63 years old and I can only walk with a stick for 1.5 years, and now I have been deprived of medical service and hospitalization and stuff like that. And yeah, what can I say? Welcome to Ukraine, suka. Besides that, Russians showcased their strike drones striking what they think was the Patriot system protecting Kharkiv. Tell me what's wrong with this image. Like, your very, very personal opinion. That's literally a footage from the Russian drone camera that hit this Patriot system protecting Kharkiv. Guys, please let me know what you think about this one, alright? What is wrong, alright? What is slightly off with this image? In your very, very own personal opinion, my friends. Maybe I don't understand something. I mean, does it look like Patriot system? Kinda does. This part looks like a trampoline, in my personal opinion. I have no idea. Something is kinda off, alright, when you look at it. Again, I can be wrong, of course. I can be wrong, but this stuff looks as if it was, you know, it doesn't contain like Patriot missiles, rather like a lot of air. It's no idea, but maybe that's just me. Okay. What else do we have? This absolutely happy Russian woman right there says that Ukrainians are striking Saratov, also Engels, and 10 explosions were reported. Why the hell is she so upset about that? I have no idea, because as we know, Ukrainians are not hitting civilians, we are only striking their war machine. And this is the map of good Ukrainian drones flying towards the terrorist federation only this morning. You can see that they are freaking mad. Okay, because from this map I can say that the good Ukrainian drones were heading towards Smolensk, Kaluga, Tula, Ryazan, Voronezh. From Voronezh they went to Saratov, Kursk, Belgorod Oblast, Volgograd, Rostov, Rostov-on-Don, Krasnodar, Stavropol, and of course Crimea, temporarily occupied. Alright, we can see this amazing map of the Russian alarms that were announced over the terror Russian regions. Yes, that's Volgograd, that's Saratov Oblast, Voronezh, Tambov. Fuck Tambov, seriously. I'm so happy every single time they fuck Tambov. Something I just cannot explain. Voronezh, Lipetsk, Kursk, then Belgorod was absolutely red from happiness, and also the Bryansk region of the terrorist federation. At this point, we are expecting more details, And hopefully, my friends, maybe tomorrow, we will have those details to share. That is so good. Yeah, just one picture from the front lines of, like, judging from these mugs, all right, you can already tell that they are not Ukrainians, okay, because there is a reason why we call them orcs, and they decided to make, like, you know, brotherly photo from the middle of Ukrainian nowhere, and that one is wounded, that one is dead, and dead. Welcome to Ukraine, suka. You're gonna love it here. That was nice. The Crimean sources report that Russian airlines in 2026 actually plan to restore a number of old aircraft that are currently being in the storages, all right, because they're old. So Rostech informed those sources that already 10 out of 12 Russian airliners were delivered to the Russian airlines. So that is so cool. Putin promised Russians that before 2030, Russia will build 1,000 new airplanes. At this point, as it is reported, they built 0 airplanes, and Russians have to use old, outdated, retired Russian airplanes because that's basically what they deserve, right? Press like if you agree with me. Next one is something absolutely amazing. As always, they don't smile for pictures, do they? Cannot smile enough before you die. They have this kind of superstition. They enjoy suffering 100%, and by the way, just let me take a sip and we will talk about this precisely, all right? So many flights that will leave the Moscow airports. Yeah. Where exactly is Ust-Pizdyuysk? Oh my god, that is like a legendary place. Basically, wherever you spit on the Russian map, there is Ust-Pizdyuysk. Something like that, I think. Ust-Pizdyuysk is not just a Russian city, let's say, it's the state of the Russian soul, right? Every morning when Russians wake up, they find themselves in the horrible everyday's Russian Ust-Pizdyuysk. I hope that it explains. Okay, because it's very hard. What was the question? I got distracted by my iced coffee with with a shot. So you probably ask yourself, which countries enjoy tyranny and dictatorship? Not countries, but people of which countries enjoy tyranny and dictatorship the most? And if you think that probably North Koreans, I don't know. I don't think so. I think still Russians, all right? Good evening to the beautiful Danish Oblast, my friends. Much love to you. The whole world is with you nowadays. Today we are not just Ukrainians, we're also Danes, and we are also a bit Greenlanders, all right? Let's talk about this one. I believe that Russians enjoy tyranny and dictatorship 100% compared to everybody else, basically because they were raised like that throughout centuries, all right? Through the artificial selection, all right? Because that is not a natural selection 100%. Natural selection in other countries resulted in pretty much democracy, or at least something that reminds democracy, In Russia, that selection resulted in their absolute fanatism about dictatorship and tyranny. So let's check out this one. This is the council in the terrorist parliament known as Gosduma, where the committee responsible for culture and stuff like that were discussing whether they should actually introduce censorship in their cinema. Let's check this out.
Нужно забыть о том, что думает народ.
This absolutely amazing Russian man basically says we have to forget what the common people think.
Я говорю цинично, но ситуация такая.
I'm speaking cynically, but this is the situation. We should forget about what Russian people think, what they want to see on their screens. Fuck Russian people, we know better.
В кино у нас сейчас. То, что выходит на экран, и то, что зарабатывает огромные деньги, никакого отношения, извините, к кино и к искусству.
So he keeps saying that whatever you can see currently on the Russian screens, whatever the Russians are watching in their movie theaters, whatever brings them huge profit, money and stuff like that, that has nothing to do with the real art. And coming from the Russian mouth, I can freaking imagine the horror that he actually considers the Russian art, alright? But it's not all, my friends.
У меня предложение отменить все-таки 9-ю статью в основном законе о культуре.
So this amazing Russian lady, which is again one of the representatives of the Russian cultural elites, all right, she says, I have a proposal. We should cancel the 9th article in the supreme law on the Russian culture.
Который не дает возможности Министерству культуры, так же, как и вообще правительству, вмешиваться в творческий процесс.
And she explains that this 9th article is not allowing the Russian state to interfere with culture, with cinema and stuff like that. They actually ask the Russian state to interfere. They invite them. Guys, imagine you're walking down the street, all right, wearing like red shirt, or because why not? And you are stopped by a cop who says, dude, change your shirt in the name of our country, all right? Change your fucking shirt. Why are your shoelaces black? They should be white. And generally speaking, why are you walking so slow? Walk faster. Imagine that you are a movie maker, all right? And you create films for public, all right? And then the state interferes and basically says, you know, your movie sucks because you don't talk more about the Russian state or your state. You don't talk more about our amazing policies that we introduce in everyday's life of our amazing society and stuff like that. You should talk more about this and you should talk less about that, because whatever like those movies you're making, like fuck them, like you're not doing them right, all right? And generally speaking, we can just literally write a script for you and you can make movies. Would you tell those people to fuck off? I believe that you would, otherwise you would not be subscribed to this channel, right? But that is exactly what these amazing people, and especially this absolutely amazing lady here, what they are proposing. All right, that lady, by the way, that is a very famous Russian actress and member of parliament, Drapeko. All right. And looking at her, of course, I understand that most probably she comes from, like, you know, those old times of USSR, Soviet movies, Soviet cinema and things like that. That's basically where all of the Russian movies where all of the Russian culture were heavily censored, and she fucking loves it. Oh my god. What are the Russian Soviet movies, Soviet cinema, and generally speaking, Soviet culture is known for? Alright, I cannot say that it's famous because most probably majority of you have never seen their shit, alright? Unfortunately, I've seen a lot of their shit because their shit among the people who have this nostalgia after the Russian regime called USSR, they actually say that, you know, Soviet movies, they were the best. Whatever, like, your Hollywood is showing today, it's like that fuckery. But the Soviet movies were the best. For example, those like Three Funny Thugs, alright, Winnie the Pooh, all right, like that little bear, that is like a Russian bear. That you think that Winnie the Pooh was created by a not Russian person, you are wrong, my friends, because Russians and generally people who love Soviet shit, they are actually convinced that it was this bear was born in the USSR. So besides all that, Soviet cinema is widely known for literally plagiating and snatching shit from other countries. Alright, let's check out just a few examples that, again, you might be acquainted with, you might not be acquainted with, but please raise your hand if you are. So this is the song of a thug, or the song of a scammer, the song of a thief, the song of a bandit. I don't know because they only give the Russian translation. That is literally United States 1930, alright? And there they have it, the legendary Caucasian prisoner. That is the Soviet shit, alright? Of course, I mean, what sorts of stealing ideas are we even talking about here? Of course, there's like nothing in common between them, right? Yeah, Freddy hit first, this one, and that is the diamond hand, бриллиантовая рука, like the Russian shit. Wasn't bad, but it wasn't bad only for one reason, because it was fucking snatched. Okay, not completely, I admit, not completely, but partially. Yeah, there are like those and those scenes. This one comes from the Soviet movie, this one comes from the, I think, is that American movie or what? Anyways. The dog heart, guys, the dog heart is considered the legend of the Soviet cinematography, alright? It is actually a Soviet movie that was made in 1988 in the Soviet Union, and Russians are fucking... they love this one. They consider this movie, actually produced in the USSR, they consider it the top of the top to Soviet people, alright? That stuff is absolutely classic. But this stuff, for example, it was produced, as far as I remember, in France. Wait, 1976? Wait a minute. 1988. So that is actually an adaptation, because in Soviet Union it was produced in 1988, but The Dog Heart was also produced in Italy and Germany in 1975. Oops. Three Russian girls, the frontline friends, whatever. Yeah, basically same shit. But this one is actually very cool. So this is the Planet of the Storms, United States. Alright? And no, wait. The Journey to the Prehistoric Planet. And this is the Soviet shit, all right? Basically the same. What? Like, who cares? Fuck this shit. Let's see some more, shall we? Yeah, so you know the Caucasian prisoner, this one, whatever. That is actually a French movie called Scooter. This one is The Meeting Place Cannot Be Changed, the Soviet one. Again, that one is just so freaking amazing, legendary Russian movie, but that one is called The Investigation is Given to Me, or something like that. That is the Hungarian one. So the Hungarian movie and the Russian movie, they are basically the same. Ирония судьбы или С легким паром. How to say? So this one is Russian movie, okay? It's called Irony of Faith or blah, 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 doesn't matter. The dude gets very, very drunk on the New Year, and instead of his city, he flies to the other city with the same address, the same building, the same apartment, where he meets that lady who lives there. With the husband, by the way. And eventually he starts, like, you know, he breaks this amazing family. And this one is called The Apartment, 1960. Oh, really? How come? It can be. This is Lemonade Joe, as you probably know. Like, guys, please raise your hands, all right? That is Lemonade Joe on the right. On the left, we have, again, absolutely amazing, legendary Soviet masterpiece of cinematography called A Man from the Capucine Boulevard. Oops. But this one is absolute masterpiece, because this is 1985 Soviet shit called The Guest from the Future. This is basically when I was born, 1985. And this one is The War of Robots. They snatched every fucking thing, including the haircut. Like, literally everything. Incredible Adventures of Italians in Russia, 1974, and This Crazy, Crazy World by Stanley Kramer, United States. Basically the same. So the Russians, and particularly Soviets, are known not only for snatching like your machinery, your like cassette tape players and stuff like that. They are known for snatching basically everything. And looking at this lady right there, nagging, all right, nagging that Russian cinematography is so free and stuff like that, and they don't make proper movies. I can actually understand why she's nagging that bad, okay? Because she actually misses those Soviet times where everything was good, when she was young, she had big boobs, she had good health, the man would like, you know, to date her and stuff like that, because that's basically the only reason why they miss the cringy, shitty, horrible Soviet Empire. And that's the reason basically why they miss it so much, why they need dictatorship, why they want somebody to control them every single day. Because Russians, they cannot imagine themselves without that. That's absolutely amazing. But what's even cooler, I will show you. So you probably know that currently we have a very, very crazy situation in Kyiv. And unfortunately, the truth is the damage went beyond what was anticipated, because frosts, the temperature is falling very, very low, sometimes minus 20, and the pipes are breaking massively around Kyiv because of that, because of the water and everything else. And quite a few Ukrainians are freezing. Doesn't mean that they beg President Zelensky to capitulate tomorrow because they cannot get warm. But one thing that I wanted to show you is actually like this one. That dude is actually legendary. All right.
То чувство, когда ты живешь в Киеве, в квартире 105 квадратных метров, но из-за холода по факту ты живешь просто в туалете.
So this legendary man from Kyiv actually says that that's exactly the feeling when you have a 100 square meter apartment, but because of the motherfucking Russians, you live actually in the bathroom. But check out the bathroom,
Размером
okay?
5 квадратных метров. Пойдемте покажу.
You
Там
will
у
be
нас
impressed.
целый лаунж.
Check this out.
Туалет, биде, душ, кухня.
So they basically have everything. They have shower, they have toilet, they have kitchen. Everything is in order. They can survive. And by the way, speaking seriously, he did exactly what you would like to do if you had the situation like that in Kyiv. Because instead of occupying the whole apartment, the whole territory of your apartment, you would better go somewhere to a smaller room together with your family members and all of your roommates, and occupy the smallest apartment possible, because it's easier to keep warm. All right, so check out what he did. That is absolutely crazy. Of course, you cannot expect the same from Russians, for example, because you can pretty much imagine what the Russian bathroom would look like. But that is another proof that we have like this absolute cultural gap between Ukrainian people and Russian slaves that literally cannot be filled by anything. All right. That one is impressive. That one, again, I can just applaud. All right, because yes, unfortunately, due to the frosts and due to the incessant Russian terrorist attacks, the one, by the way, is preparing at this point. That's what we know, because they're activating several of their airfields and they're preparing their bombers, strategic bombers. We are expecting one. So due to all that, unfortunately, people have to survive, but people find ways to survive in a civilized way. Absolutely, absolutely, my friend. I agree on that. Check that out. Of course, Russians cannot do the same because basically like 1/3 of Russians don't have in-house toilets and sewers. They only have like outhouses. It's minus 20 in their apartment and minus 20 in the toilet as well. So basically hiding there makes absolutely no fucking sense. So, what else do we have? NATO has been telling Denmark for 20 years that you have to get the Russian threat away from Greenland. Dear citizens of Denmark there in the chat, please let me know, were you told by NATO over the past 20 years that you should get the Russian threat away from Greenland? Please let me know. I need to know this, all right? Because I am not very much acquainted with this information. Maybe Trump knows better. I don't know if he even knew what NATO was like 20 years ago, right? Let's be realistic, because we're talking about Trump, who probably found out where Ukraine is fucking located on the map like in 2024. Okay, after the elections, that's important to remember. Yeah, so unfortunately Denmark has been unable to do anything about it. All those Russian bombers flying over the Greenland, all those Russian suspicious green men massively landing on the Greenland island, they were just ignored all this time. I don't know, all those Russian missile carrying ship, aviation carrying ship that literally surrounded the Greenland for the past 20 years. Everyone just ignored it and did absolutely nothing. So now United States have to react, according to Trump. What the fuck? I don't know. Why doesn't he deal with Russians in Donbass first? That is a bigger threat. Okay, fuck this shit. My dear friends, just a tiny disclaimer, you know that on our channel we can trash tyrants and dictators as much as possible, and it's not only possible, it's mandatory, alright? So if you're a fan of one, please don't be upset. Let's check out what else do we have. That is a tiny compilation, alright, from the deep Ukrainian strikes that took place all over the Terrorist Federation. The strikes were conducted not only on the Terrorist Federation, but also over the temporarily occupied territories. And this one is absolutely freaking amazing, my friends, because the Security Service of Ukraine, legendary SBU, guys, reported that over the past year they destroyed $4 billion worth Russian air defense. Like $4 billion, my friends, that is something absolutely unimaginable. But I can just applaud to the Ukrainian Security Service. They are absolutely legendary. 100%. Let's talk about something else, because we are slowly approaching the main topic of today, but just so you could understand what have Ukrainian Security Service destroyed in 2025. We're talking about S-300, S-350, S-400 systems. We're talking about the Buk M1 and M2. We're talking about the Russian Panzer S1 and S2, and also Russian missile complexes Tor M1, M2, M3. Everything is there on the video. You can see it yourself. So besides that, they are mentioning the Russian radio location systems Neba-U, Neba-M, Podlyot, Nioboi, Kasta, Gamma, Protivnik, and all sorts of other radio location systems that were eliminated. Why is it so cool? Well, you probably understand that it's not an easy task for Russian degenerates to actually build their radio location technologies due to the shortage of parts and everything else, sanctions and yada yada. And generally speaking, currently their military industrial complex is overloaded with all sorts of tasks. We're talking repair of tanks, not only those that were damaged, but also those that were brought from the storages and stuff. And they are struggling with building more of their air defense units. They have plenty of manpads, yes, that's true, but if we're talking about something more sophisticated like radio location systems, again, remember that good Ukrainian defenders have neutralized a bunch of Russian AWACS aircraft, which made Russians very, very upset. So the very fact that they have less of their air defenses means that good Ukrainian drones, that, by the way, Ukraine expands production of every single day, they will be reaching their targets more often, and that will eventually accelerate the upcoming Russian demise. Just to remind you, as of last year, Ukraine hit approximately 2/3 of the overall Russian oil producing and processing capacity. And that's a lot. Russians don't look happy about that. Neither does Donald Trump, for reasons unknown. All right. So, we have upcoming information that Russians are preparing another massive strike, and most probably they will be also using their new ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, like Ha-BDK, that is modification of Ha-101. But I believe that they will receive a very, very symmetric and painful response for that. Latvia exposed Russian informators or informers that were transferring the sensitive information to the Russian secret services regarding the movement of the military vehicles that were meant to be delivered to Ukraine. So again, remember on our last stream and in the last video that I published on my channel, we talked about the Russian influence operations. We talked about how Russia operates through its multiple agencies with different far-right and far-left folks. So this one is a very, very good case, because we are talking about the extremist group known as Baltic anti-fascists that tried to sneak into the factory that produces drones in Latvia. They were also gathering information regarding the movement of different military vehicles, and also they were collecting information about those who donate to Ukraine or basically carries any sort of Ukrainian flag, Ukrainian logo, Ukrainian pin or patch. So another one was exposed. There is still a lot of them, but they are not unlimited, my friends. And again, it's very good to see that actually our Baltic friends are taking this threat seriously, unlike fucking, I don't know, Hexet or whatever. Maybe he just doesn't receive updates on his WhatsApp. I have literally no fucking clue. Now, let's talk about cringe. All right. So, turned out that Putin received an invitation from Trump to join his so-called peace board or peace council. Besides Putin, similar invitations were received by Orban from Hungary, okay? And you may ask yourself, why doesn't Trump want to cooperate with normal people, right? Why is he always sending that chat to people like Putin, Orban? I don't know why they are so close with AfD, why they are so close with fascists, dictators, terrorists, and everybody else. Let's talk about this, all right? Let's talk about this. So Orban also received the similar invitation from Trump. That is something that he reported himself, and also Bloomberg inform, all right, referring to their sources, that the membership in this club of tyrants, oligarchs, and dictators only costs $1 billion for everyone else who doesn't want to invest those money. That will be like 3 years membership. The free membership, all right, is a 3-year membership, and for everybody else who want to participate in this club, for an unlimited period of time, that would cost them $1 billion straight to Trump. So Trump will become the first chief of the peace board. My God, peace board. And he will decide whom to invite to the peace board. But Orban and Putin were not the only ones, my friends, because also Belarus, according to the Russian media, Belarus was also invited to the Board of Peace. I have several more candidates for President Donald Trump. First of all, he should invite Khamenei from Iran, okay, because why not? I think Khamenei deserved, because just over several weeks he killed between 12 and 16,000 people, his own people on the streets, and basically Trump will be fucking happy to have Khamenei there, all right, sitting behind the same table. That will probably make Trump feel more meaningful, right? Khamenei, Bashar Assad, 100%. Unfortunately, they eliminated majority of the ISIS leaders, because otherwise they would make like very, very good members of the so-called peace board of Trump. And who else? Yanukovych, former Ukrainian dictator, who actually shot more than 100 protesters in 2014 in Kyiv, could actually be very, very good, all right? So, like, they would fit. Also, Kim Jong-un should be there, all right? I don't care about Khamenei, I don't care about, like, Putin, Lukashenko, motherfucker. Kim Jong-un must be there, all right? Maurice there in the chat agrees with me. My friend, without Kim, that little club absolutely makes no sense, in my personal opinion. He should be there. Without Kim Jong-un in that club, I swear, my friends, I will not consider it seriously, all right? I refuse. Yeah, Silver Earth agrees with me as well. Like, he must be there 100%. Everybody else, I don't know. I don't care. Unfortunately, Osama bin Laden is also shot, right? So he would make a perfect member for the Trump's peace board. But on the other hand, he can literally hang his portrait there, right, in the office. Why not? Has Kim got the $1 billion? I think he does. All right, because let's be realistic. His people are poor and starving. All right. By the way, we will see very soon. We will see the same picture in Iran, but the leader, the dictator, usually has some cash. Oh, what the fuck is this? Alexander Lukashenko, President of the Republic of Belarus. Dear Mr. Lukashenko, holy shit, it's my great honor to invite you as President of Republic of Belarus. Guys, please tell me that this is a fucking Photoshop, alright? Because I don't know. To join me in a critically historic and magnificent effort to solidify peace in the Middle East. And by the way, Lukashenko knows a lot about peace. Okay, Lukashenko makes a very good couple with Khamenei, I would say, because they use the same methods pretty much. All right. Now it's time to turn all of these dreams into the reality. I have good news though, because from what we know, the same shit was offered to President Macron, and President Macron basically said, no, thank you. Which is a good response. I think that President Zelensky would be also responding something like that. Maybe, but we know that President Trump only invites dictators to this club. Okay, that's why membership of President Zelensky is unfortunately very, very unlikely in that amazing place. What I can say? I know what I can say. I can say that I believe in 2023 I watched some very, very cringy interview. A dude was interviewing Russians on the streets and asking them, how do you feel when you think that in 2023, I believe it was 2023, that your motherland, Russia, instead of being there in G8, all right, that nowadays our closest allies are like North Korea, Iran, and Cuba. And Russians, of course, in the beginning, they were like, oh my God, it's so terrible. Oh, Jesus, all right. Like, yeah, we were in G8 and now we are surrounded by amazing people like Taliban, all right, our closest allies. Taliban, North Korea, yeah, there is a lot of reasons to be proud of that, right? And if there are still, all right, some conservatives supporting Trump that actually feel horrified about that, because I fucking guarantee very, very soon we will actually see President Trump sitting next to like Kim Jong-un, Khamenei, Putin, and Lukashenko, you know, like drinking tea, which is very dangerous considering Putin is behind the table as well. But we will actually see that. And if those Trump's followers, Trump supporters, they think like, fuck, that is actually cringy, all right? I can tell them that Russians also thought that it was kind of cringy, kind of bad, but now they got used to it, all right? So, dear Trump supporters, don't be shocked. You will get used to it as well. But we also have some good news. So, today, President Zelensky had several meetings, all right, with chiefs of the sector of defense of Ukraine. Among them, he talked to the first deputy chief of security service of Ukraine, Mr. Paklada. And according to the information that he presented to Ukrainian president, they actually captured a Russian who was executing Ukrainian prisoners of war in October last year in Kursk. I am looking forward to seeing details on that. Because, you know, Russian criminals, and generally all sorts of criminals, dictators, motherfuckers, tyrants, people who kill their own people, people who go to other countries to kill people, they all think that they will evade responsibility. But responsibility will always find them, my friends. Responsibilities and karma generally, it's such a bitch that will always find the criminal ass and will punish it, no matter what. Especially because Ukraine is involved. So, my dear friends, tell me, what do you think about all that? And I will also share something really cool with you because, again, tonight I'm drinking tea because I ran out of sugar and milk all of a sudden. I don't even have honey. I have no idea where did it go. But I have something cooler. I would never drink a beverage if there was no sugar in it, because that would literally kill me. I would literally start, choking and die. But I have something extremely freaking cool. You're gonna love it. So this amazing invention, and I will show it on screen. This amazing invention is actually very, very popular in Iran, and that is basically where it comes from. Those are sugar sticks, okay? So those are sugar sticks. Instead of literally taking a spoonful of sugar and dropping it in your coffee, and then taking a spoonful of sugar and then dropping it in your coffee, and then taking, like I usually do, like 4 or 5 of them. So you literally take a sugar stick and put it inside and literally stir. And besides the sugar itself, I have no idea how they grow the crystals of sugar on it, all right? But besides that, they also come with different aromas. Here I have like rose, and I love this one. And I also have one with like ginger. Yeah, and there is even like a manual, all right, in English, what to do with it. How do you like that? You can buy chocolate ones too. I know. You can buy literally all sorts of sticks. No food talk. Sadly, I only have candy. Oh, what can I say? How many sticks do you use also for? Actually, 2 is enough. Or like if I'm drinking half of this cup, 1 is enough, because like those sticks, they are actually very big. They're like bigger than a thumb. All right. 4 sticks. I could literally eat them like candies, I think. And actually, I think I should try while my lady is not watching. Get a Nespresso pod machine. You do not need milk or sugar. I have one. Not Nespresso, but like I don't want to crowd my kitchen with all sorts of gadgets. Like literally, there's not much space. I've had those. The sugar accumulates on the sticks and recrystallizes. Yeah, something like that. I think they just like keep them in the water saturated with sugar and stuff. Maybe that's the way it works. We have sugar cubes. You also have hamsters in Cardiff. Those are strategic resources, my friend. Sugar is nice, but I'm like Silence of the Lambs guy. Mocha maker. I will think about it, but again, I just don't want to overcrowd my space. Otherwise, I would have like everything there. I bought a 2-kilogram bag of sugar 15 years ago, but lost the craving, so it's a solid block in my pantry. Oh my god. In 2015, we had pretty much no food to eat. I told you that story. It's when I was making those toast with garlic in order to survive, all right? So besides a lot of bread and basically absence of everything else, we had like big bag of sugar, all right? And I'm talking big, I'm talking like 10 kilograms maybe. And one of my friends, we served together in this Special Force Police Battalion, and then we served in the Brigade together after that. He was in the special force company, in the reconnaissance. So when we were deployed in 2015 in Krasnohorivka, he was like big fan of PT. He would like just run and do like, pull-ups and push-ups and everything else. And while running to my floor, he would run past that he would run all the time, literally. He would run past that bag of sugar, literally grab a handful of it and like throw in his mouth and chew and just keep running. And that was crazy. Yeah, but we still share, this love to sugar. I just take a jar of sugar, I pour the coffee inside, and I enjoy it. The population of Wales is about 3 million, but there are 8 million sheep. We won't starve. I completely agree that you won't starve. Like, we all know that. We all know that. But I have just one request to you, my friend. Don't mention to Kadyrovites and, all those guys that you have those sheep there, because that will end in a very, very nasty way. All right. Sugar like a drug. Yes, it is. Definitely. Sugar is definitely a drug. It makes you happy. It gives you power and stuff like that. But 8 million sheep in West never run out of... Oh my god. Oh my god. Sugar is poison. Cheryl, I think maybe I'm not sure about the rest of the Ukrainians, but me personally, maybe I'm like a frog, like there are those frogs that eat nasty things and then they accumulate like poison in them, so they avoid being hunted by like birds or like snakes. I have no idea. 1 billion, that is scam, 100%, but the very fact that they invite all sorts of nasty people in that club, and Trump is literally proud of fuck. Would you invite Lukashenko to a peace board? I don't know what to say. But what about hamsters? It's hard to say. Especially in Cardiff. I have literally no idea. I don't want to think about an orc outside toilet. Yeah, 100%. Sugar immediately saps physical strength, just the tiniest, but on your tongue. Extend your arm and have someone try to push it down before and after. I gotta try. How do you drink water if you can't drink anything without sugar? Do you put sugar in water? No, actually I drink water without sugar, thank God. But I don't drink water much. I prefer stuff like this, actually. Well, like, I don't know. That's Red Bull Wassermelone. My favorite. Frog legs are tasty. Oh my god. So, I had frog legs with garlic sauce twice in my life. One time in Crimea before it was occupied, and second time in some really, really kick-ass Ukrainian franchise called Chornomorka. Jesus. They're so good. How's my hamster statue coming in Cardiff? Working on it. I will I will make it for you, my friend. I will publish it somewhere in the community posts, 100%. Talk to Jake Bro about sugar. What did he say about sugar? Let me know. Is there Mountain Dew in Germany? Actually, I have never seen it here. And I don't think that I've seen like Dr. Pepper. If I find one, I will definitely get it. I love frog legs or snails with loads of garlic butter. Yeah, I had snails with garlic sauce as well. They're not bad, but for some reason, like, I don't know. Theoretically, they must taste like clams, but they just don't. You can get Dr. Pepper. I gotta check it out. I mean, there's definitely a Dr. Pepper somewhere in Germany. I wasn't looking specifically for it. Aha, so Jake regulates how much he eats. I also regulate, actually. I literally, when I eat and I feel that I can still eat, I keep eating. And then when I feel like I cannot eat anymore, I don't eat anymore. That's how it works in my case. Send me some Mountain Dew if you find it, please. How to explain this one? Literally, you gotta take like a glass of water, drop like this tiny pill of my god, CO2, the gas, and then add like 5 spoons of sugar and you will have Mountain Dew. Something like that. Mountain Dew and Dr. Pepper available in Germany, but not in every store. Seriously, I've never seen them. I think I saw Dr. Pepper, but Mountain Dew, I have no idea. I had frog legs in France once when I was a small kid, and I really didn't like it. But apart from that, I love French cuisine. Most probably you have to try it with like proper sauce, which is like garlic sauce, because I had them fried and I had them in the soup, and both times they were absolutely amazing. According to snail theory, the Yobana Rusnya have now been defeated in region Warsaw. I think according to snail theory and Russian media theory, they should be like past Warsaw by today. I think they should be like around, I don't know, Berlin. American recipe for Mountain Dew is banned everyone else because of yellow dye number 5. They might have a version with juice as a dye instead. Yeah, might be that Mountain Dew is not really working with like European regulations. However, again, I don't know. I wasn't looking for it specifically, but I will. Water with lime juice. Friends, Schweppes with water, that is something that will tame your thirst immediately. Dr. Pepper gibt es an jeder Allgut Tankstelle, kaufe ich selber. Ah, genau. So, I don't remember if I was ever to that very Tankstelle. But I gotta check. And generally speaking, there is like this one, Riva to go. So it might be available there as well. Have you tried one of those implements to get the snail out of the shells? I sent one across the... yeah, so basically you gotta just stick your fork into it and start rolling. And that's how it works. Do frog legs taste like chicken? They taste like reptile, basically. A bit like chicken, but they have like this subtle smell of a reptile. But it's not bad. I steal an extra bottle of soft drink. Reason being is they charge more for normal with sugar and less for chemical sweeteners. So no, the government doesn't get a sugar tax. It loses out in pounds. All right. Do you think Trump will bomb Iran? What will he? I don't think that he will. First of all, he already changed his mind, just like he did with like Russian sanctions, with whatever. Okay, and if you want to know my opinion, all right, I think highly suspicious that both Donald Trump and Prince Pahlavi, again, that's just my opinion. I don't call you to believe it, all right, because that is literally a conspiracy. But it's a very, very suspicious fact that they both called Iranian people to go outside, where they were literally shot to death by snipers, by machine gunners, riflemen. They were arrested, of course, massively, but beyond that, they were literally shot, and those that were arrested, around 60 of them were executed. So, to me, that looks highly, highly suspicious. People thought that they could go on the streets and have a peaceful protest in a dictator-run country, where he has like 7 brigades of armed goons, okay, and people have absolutely no weapons at all, and they were not prepared, and there was no leadership. So to me it looks very, very sus, all right. And then he said, the Trump said that, my dear Iranian friends, the help is coming. So I tell you this, exactly 1 year ago, he said that he will settle the war in Ukraine in 24 hours, still fucking waiting. And I think that the similar picture can be observed in the case of Iran. All right, he can say a lot of different bullshit, but we all understand that you shouldn't believe everything he says. But that's just my opinion. Fuck, the help is on its way. People, come to the streets. Don't forget to ride the wheel, of course, before you come. I don't know. I heard many in the armed forces of Ukraine said NATO training is obsolete to the war due to it not including drone warfare. 100%, my friend. Not only so, let's put it this way: drones will become the core of every conflict in the future. Of course, it doesn't mean that people will not participate at all, because currently we are looking at the resolution of the drone warfare that is actually taking place in Ukraine. What do I mean by that is this warfare was actually born during the Russian invasion. Drones were used, everybody understands, but the way we use drones nowadays and the way the opposite party is trying to evade those drones, because there's already like handbooks of countering enemy FPV drones. Those handbooks are being written today as we speak, okay? So how exactly will it evolve? Because people will find ways to evade drones, then people will find ways to improve those drones to eliminate the enemy's ways of evading them. And that will keep evolving from that point. NATO training was concentrated around effective measures, combined arms, very expensive vehicles, ships, airplanes, AWACS, aircraft, I don't know. A lot of things that were extremely effective, very expensive, and tiny in numbers, all right, compared to Russians, for example, which is okay. Tiny in numbers, it's okay if we're talking about quality over quantity, but in Ukraine, you can now observe that if you have million of FPV drones, you don't care what sort of equipment your enemy has, because everything can be destroyed easily, including personnel. All right, we had a problem. We had a huge problem. We didn't have enough artillery shells to eliminate Russian personnel. We would strike command posts, we would strike ammo storages, we would strike their logistics, but we didn't have enough shells to eliminate the terror Russian personnel. Now we can do that precisely, easily, and in a much cheaper way, because a bunch of shells versus a bunch of drones, you can literally compare the cost of each, all right? I believe that one drone costs something around a detonator for like a 120mm shell. I can't be wrong, but I can check sometime. So now we can eliminate Russian personnel in a much more effective way. Unfortunately, they can do the same, speaking of their artillery use in combination with the drones, but NATO army is left behind, basically, okay? In terms of modern warfare, they are very, very outdated. And if the NATO armies are considering the possibility of Russian invasion, what they should do now is they should fucking invite Ukrainian officers to every headquarters, participate in mutual exercises, invite Ukrainian drone operators, talk to them, and also talk to the Ukrainian drone developers, because otherwise they are just so fucked. Okay. I have to wait for the stream to finish before I start cooking. My friends, we still have just a couple of minutes to finish our tea or coffee. Because frankly speaking, I'm very, very hungry myself. I just made a bunch of buckwheat with sausage. I took like bratwurst and I cut it in tiny pieces, in tiny slices. With my big kitchen knife, I cut everything. And then I fried the pieces of that sausage on the frying pan. I put the buckwheat into the cooker, and then I mixed everything together, and it tastes fantastic. You gotta also add just a bit of butter. Hopefully I'll wake up soon realizing Trump was just fake news. Oh, my friend. 2022, 2023, I was waking up every single day, with such a good mood in the morning. I was like, yay, beginning of another day, and the second thought that comes to my mind immediately is that, fuck, we are invaded by Russia, And it took a lot of time to actually get used to it, because even in 2024, early 2024, while I still served, I would still wake up to this thought. Fuck, like, you open your eyes, you smile, holy shit. And then you immediately remind yourself, like, why the fuck am I sleeping on the floor? In the yeah. The factories invaded. But, yeah, this one I agree 100%. Every day of our lives puts us just a tiny, like 1 centimeter, 1 millimeter closer to Putin's end. I'm walking the town listening, so this over I'll head for... So when this over, I'll head for food. Oh, nice. What will you have? Let me know. Якщо у мене немає кави, я дуже небезпечна людина. Я теж, друже. Тут те саме. Danish Foreign Intelligence has notified government employees and military to not use Bluetooth headphones and AirPods due to the risk of US eavesdropping. Yeah, unfortunately, that might be the case. All right. So, there are several thoughts about this one. Thought number one is that Trump is like, trying to do what Trump does, which is basically speaking bullshit. Don't react to Trump. He's not gonna invade Greenland. So this invasion will happen. All right. Looking at the tendencies, this invasion will happen. It will rather happen than it will not, I believe, because currently looking at the people he's allying with, Putin, fucking Lukashenko, all the right guys, all right? So I believe that Trump does everything possible to destroy NATO alliance, because in 2016 he already said that NATO was obsolete, right? That is something that I see, and I know that we don't like thinking about this shit. We don't like it, we hate it, but there will be consequences, 100%. Whether we're talking about the direct military interference, maybe they will just disembark on the Greenland island despite whatever warnings, and just say, guys, we are here, do whatever the fuck you wanna do, we're not going anywhere. And we will have, like, Minsk agreements, but this time between Denmark and Trump. So whatever happens, there will be consequences, either tariff wars or military invasion or things like that. We will see that. My boyfriend just called you my other boyfriend. Thank God my lady didn't hear that, because I would die, seriously. So, unfortunately, that's one thing. The other thing, what do people from like CIA, Army, US Army, National Guard, what do they think about that? So they might think whatever the hell they want to think, but they are military, all right? They follow orders. It doesn't matter how much respect you have to those guys, how much respect they have towards you, but they follow orders and they will do exactly what they're ordered. That's another thing. So in my personal opinion, we should all finally wake up and realize one thing. Trump allies with dictators and tyrants openly. Let's not fucking lie to ourselves, all right? You can lie to people, you can lie to men, women, and children, you can lie to other countries. Don't lie to yourself, okay? Let's just wake up and think about this. He is allying with dictators and tyrants because for some reason he believes that this is something that makes him fucking great, all right? Openly. He's not allying with democratic governments. He's not allying with like people who pursue or respect democratic values. He allies with motherfuckers. He allies with fucking far-right, Nazi, AfD, whatever, extremists, dictators, authoritarians, autocrats, all right? He is allying and aligning with those people. Don't fool yourself. Don't, like, literally just fucking quit, justifying what he does, inviting Putin to Alaska, all that fucking shit. I don't know. I cannot imagine if Obama was a president. I cannot imagine Putin in 2025 fucking invited to Alaska. I just cannot. I'm sorry. Because he would go straight to fucking jail, all right? That's one thing. And another thing is, those are exactly the partners that United States will be working with. Because currently in the United States, you can see like ICE, all right, literally harassing people on the streets because they don't have like white skin, okay? Like, if you don't have white skin, you will get harassed by the ICE. Like, guys literally stop people of color on the streets because they're not white. Like it's, I don't know, Germany, all right, middle 30s. That is the way they are showing an example to their partners from Europe that they will be cooperating with closely, according to the United States' new national strategy. That is their main intention, okay? So let's not fool ourselves and let's just talk about the things the way they are. We will see United States supporting all sorts of far-right organizations in Europe, all sorts of extremists, all sorts of racists. And we can already fucking see that happening, all right? Even the AfD don't like Trump's Greenland plan. My friend, that is literally because they didn't receive the paycheck from Kremlin yet. When they do, they will be talking a different thing. Trust me. Because they can speak whatever the hell they want to speak. All right. With that, my dear friends, I think we'll be wrapping this one up. And I think I will go and have some of my amazing buckwheat with sausage. I'm literally enjoying it because, to be very, very honest with you, my friends, I enjoy this food because I know that in the upcoming years I will be thinking about these moments when, you know, we had like warm apartments, running water, electricity to sit here and chat or write in the chat and enjoy warm food. Because by the end of this decade, according to numerous intelligence agencies, we will unfortunately face an absolutely different picture. That is why have something good today. Treat yourself. Don't get demoralized. Be prepared. And of course, be safe. Bye-bye, my friends. My God. Please don't say that out loud, all right? Yeah, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.